Hello and welcome to my video. Right, while I'm limbering up here, this is going to be a giveaway. So if you're a patron via my Patreon page, or you are thinking of joining my Patreon page, then there's a chance that this could be yours. What I'm going to paint is going to be, it's just going to be a sort of landscape based roughly on the view down the bottom of the road from where we live here. And it's just one of these sort of very simple, it's just a hill with a bunch of trees on top. But it's got, you know, there's something about large woods growing on the tops of hills that's always fascinated me. Anyway, there's the, right, I'm going to show you this quickly because the royal blue wants to travel. There we are. That's my palette. No organisation. A lot of them, some mixing will be done on this. Most of it will be on the work surface, which has got a piece of glass on it. So I'll just run through the colours. So the one that's moving, that's royal blue. Red ochre, sap green, Japanese red, Payne's grey, ultramarine blue. And I might chuck in a few other things as well, who knows. And I'm using linseed oil. I keep getting asked, people say, what are you diluting the paint with? Well, it's linseed oil. And that's it. Nothing else, just that. And again, for the people who like to see palettes, okay. That's all I'm doing. I'm just making a mess like that. Sap green, red ochre, mix them together. Green and red make perfect landscape colours for the type of painting that I do, which is tonalism. So there it is. It's, you know, you've heard me say it, sludge. It's a sludgy colour on the palette, but when you put it on the white board, I don't put a tone on my boards. I never have done, not even when I was a student and I was told to do it. I just didn't. I like to work on white, and because I like the white to show through. So off we go. Now this place down the road, it's going to be interesting, this, because it's like a bunch of trees on, as I said, on top of a hill. And it leans down. Now I tend not to paint pictures with a slope going off the painting. I'm going to make an exception on this one, just for the heck of it. So there's my bunch of trees. It's going to be quite a, well, I suppose not quite the rule of thirds. Maybe in some places it'll be like the rule of thirds, in some it won't. Does that make sense? But I just want to make some interesting shapes, like so. There we go. There's my trees on the top of the hill, and it sort of hangs over a bit there, like so. And then off it goes and does its thing over there, whatever it does. Simple, isn't it? And the point of this painting is going to be the sky. I want to make the sky interesting. I mean, if the landscape's interesting, that's it's a double whammy, isn't it? Or yeah, it's a double whammy. And there we are. There's a landscape appearing, and landscapes are usually just made out of streaks and shapes. Not actually painting a tree, not actually painting the planet. I'm just painting something that to your eye and to mine looks like a landscape. There we go. The brush that I'm using is just from a hardware store. I think in America you call it a chip brush. Don't know what they call it in France. Maybe a sheep brush, I don't know. But it's 40 millimeters, which is 4 centimeters in width, which is that big. That's about just over an inch. And the trick with this is relaxation. Just relax. Just make some marks, see what happens, because that's all I'm doing. And the landscape, as I said, is going to be sort of secondary. It'll be hopefully interesting to look at. I think it's interesting already. See, 'cause it's just got nice textures. Texture is key. If you get nice textures, you can't really go wrong. So a quick look in the camera, which means I'll be in the way for a second, but I'll probably edit it out. Good. Right, so pretty well straight onto the sky. So that's two colours. There's no fancy greens in that, not yet anyway. I might do something later when it's dry, but for now I think that sort of comes over quite nicely. Let's just put in a few more marks. This horizon line will change. And some people, right, okay, here's a question now that I get asked. People say, why don't you paint the sky first? Well, why should I? I mean, it's so simple that I can paint a sky up next to that, completely resculpt the shape, and then go back to this when I put the landscape back on. And the effect is that the landscape paint will mingle with the sky, and you'll see it in a minute. And it gives you a fascinating effect, I think. But that's just me. So there we are, this is the beginning of a landscape. It's already got form. It's got, like, let's just sort of exaggerate a little bit just there. There we are, there's extra little bit of light just hitting the hill there. Dead simple. Now, don't get all sort of frustrated when I say dead simple. Dead simple for me, people say. Well, yeah, I suppose so, but I've done it a long time. But I'm not doing anything fancy. All I'm doing is moving my arm from that point to this point and making a few squiggly shapes in between. Maybe that's an oversimplification. But anyway, that's what I'm doing. Right, so we're going to go on to the next brush, which is slightly bigger. I beg your pardon, I've made a boo-boo. It's slightly smaller. Do you know I do that? I say I'm going to go left when I mean right when I'm going to go left. And this is 3 centimeters, which is probably an inch. It's about an inch wide, I think. And again, it's a very cheap brush. And all I'm going to do is make up some cloud colours. I will be using one more brush, which is this one, which is about 2.5, 3 inches, 7 centimeters. So I'll just put that one aside for a minute, because otherwise I will lose it. It's probably lost already. It's gone now. I'll never see it again. Right, so a bit of linseed oil. Now to make up my sky colour, I've got Payne's Grey, Ultramarine Blue, Japanese Red, and Royal Blue. So let's just sort of chuck some paint on. Let's start with just a bit of Royal Blue. Let's have some Royal Blue just there. There we are, how to paint skies, simplified version. And don't worry that it's streaky, it won't always be streaky and patchy. That's part of the process. Okay, so let's just run that along there. Here we go, let's have another blob there for the heck of it. Now, what you don't want to do is make your cloud avoid your landscape. So my cloud is coming along and I've stopped. Now I've stopped for a reason, obviously, because I want to slow down a little bit. I want to get some of this and sort of push it up against the landscape. Just sort of reasonably close, like so. It probably looks as though it's very close on the video, but it isn't. Now to that, I'm going to add little tiny, I mean, when I say tiny, unbelievably small amount of red, which you may be able to see on the edge of that, just there. And I think we'll have that there, and here. Just a few little places like so. It's an interesting colour. Let's take that down to the top of the wood, or closer to the top of the wood. And let's have a little bit more blue. Okay, let's have some royal blue with some ultramarine added. So let's have that at the top there. Okay. See, at the moment it looks like painting by numbers, but it obviously isn't. And into that I'm going to put in some Payne's grey. I think Payne's grey, a bit more red. So that I get this colour. How's that look on the video? Interesting. Oh, first interesting of the video. If you've been here before, you may know that I have a quest to stop saying interesting. Because I'm very well aware that because I find it, that word, not everybody else does. There we are. There's some invigorating textures. And then I don't really care what it looks like. That's, you know, you've got to get that out of your head. Don't care what it looks like at this stage. Totally relax. To the point where it's all over your hands already. Okay, let's have a bit there. Back down here. Dark, close to the land. I've always liked that effect. It doesn't have to be dark, close to the land, all the way across, just part of it. To do the paper. Oh. Okay, now let's fill in this gap here a little bit. Now when I get to the point where I'm doing the sky smoothing exercise, I will avoid the landscape bit. And you may think that, well, you're making life hard, why don't you just do that and then put the landscape on? Well, the reason is because if I put the sky right across and then I put the landscape on top, I'm going to be fighting the sky colour with the landscape colour. Like when I put this dark green on, it's going to mix with the blue, and I don't actually want that. I don't mind it in a few places. In fact, in a few places I want that to happen, but not everywhere. So if I just sort of push that up to the landscape, like so, trust me, as they say. Was it? Trust me, I'm a doctor. So there we are. There's some interest. Oh dear. I meant to say there's some ultramarine blue. Oh well. Okay, so let's just do this. Basically what I'm going to do now is just sort of fill up most of the board with the sky. Leave some white bits so that when I put white on, it's not fighting quite so much paint. Now I'll be adding quite a lot of light to the horizon over that side, so I'm going to start using very, very small amounts of paint here. Just getting it off the brush. So that really it's just, you know, I'm just staining the wood. Well, staining the gesso. And in case you were going to ask, this has got 3 coats of gesso, sanded between each coat. And on this one, in fact, I sanded the top coat as well. Sometimes I don't. And I want this one to be really smooth, the surface, so because of the effect that I want to get with the clouds. Sometimes I like the gesso marks to show through because it adds interesting texture it adds texture to the sky, but I don't always want it. So I'm going to take away some of the paint using a piece of paper just over there. And when I've got it as thin as I think I'm going to get it, or as thin as possible for the moment, I'm going to push it into the land, like so. And that's where we start to get perspective. I'll be using a palette knife on the sky also soon, and I'll also be adding some white. And as that wasn't on the list, just to let you know, it's titanium white. It always is. Pretty well everybody uses it nowadays. I remember when I was a student going to the shop and buying flake white, and nobody actually had to tell us not to eat it. Why would you? And I think, I don't, well, maybe it's just the way it is now, but I suppose if you wear gloves, you won't come in contact with the paint at all, and once it's dry, it's going to be safe. Anyway, let's not go there. It's just white paint. Right, so this blue brush that I've got, that I've taken and am still taking a load of blue off it. I don't care if it's got a blue stain on it, as long as it hasn't got too much. And then white with no oil added. I don't want the white to be weak white, if you know what I mean. I don't want it sort of, it's not watery, obviously, it's oily. I don't want it too oily. So let's just get some white paint on there. Ready for that light horizon. And a little bit there, just next to the tree. Okay, isn't it strange how skies just suddenly appear? And they always appear better when you're relaxed. Okay, stage one. Well, well, not quite one. Stage 0.75, I think. Let's have a little bit of light just in there. And I don't care now whether it blends a little bit with the green. In fact, it's quite a desirable effect. It all will become clear. It gives you, well, I'll tell you, if you have a full strength sap green and red ochre, and then you get a bit of accidental white from the sky touching it, you get form. You actually get the feeling that it's got structure and form. And it's a very, very useful little trick. In fact, I'll be making this tree colour actually mix with the sky in a couple of places, and that's deliberate. So let's bring this across here. Let's have a little lump. I don't know, do I want, yeah, why not? Let's have a bit of light just there. Let's get my shoulder out of the way. Don't think I'm doing too badly today. Right, so now time to go to a bigger brush. Bigger brush and some paper. Right, this is the brush that has not been used yet. Let's just make sure it's got no loose hairs. I think it's okay. Right, so this is just to smooth things out a bit. And then when I've smoothed out generally, I'll start to do work around the trees. Yeah. Okay, so here we go. Just as a reminder, I'm doing that every time. It's not like, you know, keeping it stiff, I'm turning my hand. There we go. Let's exaggerate it in slow motion for you, like so. And there. So this blends everything a bit. Or as I call it, it blurs it. It's more of a blur. I'm not sort of going out of my way to blend carefully. Okay, so now I'm coming across here quite quickly, but and avoiding the trees. I think that's the only skill that's really needed, actually. Just good avoidance skills, so that I don't hit the trees. I want to touch the trees with a brush, but not at the moment. Now, the reason I'm doing this and giving the painting away is because, well, actually, I like giving paintings away. I don't really worry about selling them. It's nice if I do sell one, but I just think how nice it would be if someone really does like my stuff to just get one of these, and it's yours. That's it. And you don't even need to pay the postage unless it's a really big painting. If I give away a stonking great, enormous painting, I don't know what I got one here. Oh yes, there's one. There are some big ones anyway. But this sort of size, I don't mind giving it away, frankly. But I think, yeah, why not? If I was starting out, because obviously I'm not starting out, I've been painting for a long time. But if you are a beginner, wouldn't it be nice to get a painting in the post that you can keep or sell? It's up to you what you do with it, really. But pass it down through your family, or have it on the wall to inspire you a little bit when you're painting. You never know. I don't know. Who knows why people would want them? But anyway, I just think it's a nice thing for people to have. And that's it, really. Okay, so the sky's coming along. Now, I got this fancy palette knife. Somebody said, oh, you got a Bob Ross palette knife. I didn't know it was a Bob Ross palette knife. I just thought it was a palette knife. But it's this thing. Never had a palette knife that shape. I saw it in the shop a few weeks back, or a few months back, and I thought, yeah, why not? Let's try it out. And so far, so good. So let's think about what we're going to do with this sky. How am I going to make that interesting? It's quite ordinary at the moment, and I think I'll just sort of put some paint on the picture. The thing about palette knife is that it puts the paint on top of the previous paint. See? If I did that with a brush, it would go straight through it to the board, and it would just produce a pale blue. And I don't want it to be a pale blue. I want it to stay as white as possible for as long as possible. So let's just have a few there and there. One closer to the tree, one over there. Let's have one at the top. Always remember, clouds always go off the edge of your painting. Don't worry about it scraping either. It's got scratches on it now, but that's, you know, it's temporary. Okay, so back to the blending brush. Blending or blurring. See what effect we can get from that. thing with chip brushes, you'll get this if you use chipped brushes, you will get bristles coming off. That's when you see me go like that, that's me flicking a bristle off. Good. A little bit more. Let's have a little bit more there. So when I do this now, I'm coming off the painting just before I get to the trees. Oh, and I was going to, right, I'll stick something on the screen going about giving away painting, going on about giving away paintings. This is, well, these are two that I'm giving away. One is going to, actually one is going to, no, they're both going to patrons, I think. Yeah, they're both going to patrons. This one's going off to America. And this one. This is a bit of a mystery one there, so I don't want to say too much about it, but it's going somewhere. You'll know when you get it. So, bit of intrigue there. Intrigue and mystery. You don't just get a painting, you know, when you watch my videos. You get a bit of intrigue as well. Anyway, so yeah, those are two that I'm giving out, and there's another one. This one here, this is a big one. This one's actually for sale, but it's not quite finished yet, and I'll be working on that in the next few weeks, I guess. Although I do have a student coming here quite soon from Australia, and I could work on it while I'm teaching. If I do, I'll make a video. It's actually a returning student who came here about a year ago. And obviously nice when people come back. And yeah, there'll be a video of the teaching process, so you'll get to see. There we go. Starting to build up into something that I might quite like. Now, this is where we start playing with the sludge colour. Sludge colour. Should get that patented. Well, I probably can't. But it's a nice idea, isn't it? A new colour hits the market from the studios of Stuart Davies, and it's called sludge. But it's like sludge. It's like sludge until you put it on there, then it turns into something else. Paper. Oh, right. Many questions. Right, many questions. The paper I use. People say, where can I get it? Well, come to France and I'll show you. And you can come to France and have lessons. Go and look at my website, you'll find info on that. But I don't know, maybe if you put in the maker, which is APTA, A-P-T-A, I think, APTA. APTA paper towel France. I don't know, maybe you can get it on Amazon, I don't know, but I don't think you can get it in the States. Now, it's not crucial that you use this paper. I think there's something over there called Bounty paper towels. I think that'll work just as well, maybe even better. Who knows? Right, so it doesn't matter, as long as it's not the fluffy printed stuff you get actually, you know, for your kitchen with pretty designs on it. That's absolutely useless. I don't know why they do it. It needs to be just sort of slightly industrial. And by that I mean nothing printed on it really. It's you have a weft and a weave. On one way it'll tear easily, and on the other it won't. It's quite tough, but that way tears. Not that I actually tear it, but it's got that kind of strength to it. Right, so now I went along the edge of the trees, and I've sort of made it slightly untidy. So I'm going to make it Right, I'm going to make it look-atable. So here we go. Let's add some look-atableness to it here. And I want to pick up some of the sky colour. But I'll tell you what else I want to do. I want to make sure I haven't got any bristles floating around in there. If you're going to produce a good sky, you want it to look good varnished. What you don't want is when you varnish it to discover a bristle. So make sure all your bristles are off before you varnish it. In fact, get them off as you're painting, because it's a lot easier to remove them, and there may be one. Nope, it's just a line in the paint. Okay, panic over. Right, so let's get back to the trees and start making it work. So I'm picking up some sky colour just on the edge, taking away the white board that's showing through. Okay, so here, now I've got, as you can see, little bits of board showing through. Now, they can look quite nice, but I don't think I want them on this painting. So I'm going to lose those, except for maybe there. That could be nice. Let's put a little bit of ground blending with the sky, and then let's make this tree thing here slightly more tree-ish without painting trees. It's just shapes. Bring that up a little bit, and then pulling the colour of the sky into it. And then let's just round it off there with a few of those. Good. Of course, it doesn't matter what I do, it'll either end up looking like a giant caterpillar crawling across the landscape, or a hamster, or something like that. They were animals, you know. Okay, so that's sort of quite an intriguing little tree shape there. So let's just get the edge of that looking even more intriguing. Right. Will I go as far as putting in tree trunks? Maybe. Okay, a bit of distance between that over there. A bit more light at the base of the trees, just there. Good. Okay. And we've got an fascinating, I'm not doing that deliberately, by the way. We've got a fascinating little place up here that you can go. Then back down here. I might enhance that a bit, although actually I quite like it the way it is. Right, top edge. Now it's sort of got a nice bit of blue there. That'll give the lump of trees depth, as if they're going away, obviously. And let's pull a little bit more of the sky colour down, like so. Seems to be working. Nice light spot just there. Let's just get some other shapes around it, so it's just poking over from behind the tree. Just a little touch of light coming up there. Other edge of the brush, because I know it's slightly darker there, so I'll just put a little bit more paint back. Ooh, that's a nice little accidental bit there, quite like that. Good. So this is based on what's down the road, but not exact. I never quite like exact. Now look, I want a bit more light in there. So that's a little bit of sky colour, just mixing with the ground. So let's go further over that way now. Let's just do a little something. You're not seeing right up to the edge of the painting, but I'll move it along as I go, as carefully as I can. So we got light there behind this tree, and I'll be exaggerating that. And I'll be coming back to this painting also in the future, very soon actually, to put a glaze on it. So whatever's on the ground here now, I'm going to start pulling that and the sky together. Let me zoom back just a touch. Okay, so over here, I don't want the viewer to just sort of follow the line off the edge. So let's make it interesting. At the moment, it looks like there's some blue hills over there. That was just sort of accidental. I didn't intend that, but it's working quite well. So look out for accidents. And let's just, I mean, I quite like it, but I don't know whether I'll keep it. So let's just pull the two. Maybe I'll leave a little bit of it. There we go. And then let's just sort of take that up into the sky a little bit more. There. It's literally tiniest touch with just a scrubby bit of paint on the end of an extremely scrubby brush. Okay, so you don't need to produce a lot of detail. The detail will just turn up. Okay, so the foreground. What are we going to do with the foreground? I might sculpt the land slightly. I'm not going to go mad on it. So for the ground, same brush, but wiped. No turpentine, no thinners, don't need it. If you don't use thinners or turpentine, and just use linseed oil, you will, in many cases, depends how sensitive your nose is, I suppose, but you won't really smell the paint. It's just the smell of linseed oil. Linseed oil is not normally toxic. I mean, the stuff's edible. I wouldn't drink it, by the way. Don't drink it. But you know, it's not chucking out any nasty fumes. I know some people are sensitive to it, but I don't think it's that common. Okay, so over here now, I'm going to do some sculpting. I've got that nice brown ridge across there, and that looks like, you know, the land drops suddenly and then, you know, picks up at the bottom there. So I'll work on that. So I'll just sort of put a few lines across here, and then I think, sometimes I do anyway, not always, I might make the land come around there and then across that way, so that it doesn't go right across. It's just a dip. It's a dip in the ground there, and that can be sort of enhanced when I do the glazing. So down here we got some marks on the ground. I think I'll probably keep them and make a few more. And the way you do that is with paper. I'm a little bit not quite there yet with that end of the wood. I might make it slightly bigger so that I can put some tree trunks at the end of the wood. I always like that. Can't help it. It's just hardwired into my psyche. So what I'll do now is just get some paper, and just sort of turn it into a texture machine, which looks like that. That's a texture machine. Okay, it's just a piece of paper. All I'm doing is this. Scrunch it down really hard. I mean, really squish it right down. And then open it up again. And you'll get bumps all over it. All kinds of interesting bumps. And then start to apply them to the painting. So let's have a little bit of light just catching that. And maybe a little bit here. Let's have something, tell you what we'll do. Actually, that's quite a nice bit of land. The immediate effect is actually quite nice. So I'm just going to add a touch more light just there. You see, so now it comes along, it drops, comes along, drops along, and then, you know, actually gives you layers of landscape. This is the sort of landscape that would actually take a windmill quite well, I think, but not yet. I'm building up to windmills. Go the other way, that way. I actually do like windmills. There's one about 20 kilometres from here, which I just, whenever I go shopping in this particular town, which is called Barbezieux Saint-Hilaire. The windmill is just outside the town, and I often go there just to sort of be there, I suppose, because it's a working windmill. It's not working every day because you know, it's preserved. I don't know whether it's privately owned, but I think maybe it's bit of a historical monument. And I've been inside it, it's very interesting, and it's obviously in a nice high point, because they would build it in a high point to get the wind. Anyway, if I've got a picture I can show you, I'll just flash it up on the screen now. Okay, so the trees, you see, now the trees look interesting. Oh, here we go. Honestly, I do wonder about my brain sometimes. The trees are quite fascinating, but I want to give them a little bit more definition. Maybe the hint of a tree trunk or two in the actual wood. Something at the end there, actual tree trunks sticking down in that light bit, maybe one here, not sure yet. But the other thing I want to do is give the wood depth. So I'm going to bring this little lot here slightly in front, and that's all it takes. Just applying light against dark in the right place. That works nicely. Happy with that. And let's do a little bit of something on that one, just to, let's also move the camera so that you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so I just dabbed it there. Let's have another dab. The thing about varnishing a painting, by the way, you can't, you know, I put the picture up on the screen earlier, you won't really see the effect, but you don't really notice it until you actually have the painting in front of you, but it has a very dramatic effect. Makes the painting come to life. Gives it an old world feel too. There used to be this thing when I was a student that people would say, oh, you know, hand on brow. I don't varnish my paintings. I like people to see the paint. Well, you still see the paint. Yes, a bit of light there. That's working nicely. And then I think softening the edge here. Yeah, the varnish effect is, I think it's wonderful. It just, I don't know how to explain it really. You need to actually hold the painting in your hands to understand. It smooths everything down. It keeps the texture that you've painted, but everything, it's like looking at it embedded in resin. It's that sort of effect. Really, really very attractive look. Okay, so am I happy with the trees? I am actually quite reasonably happy. I think just a little bit there. So another look at the foreground. So we'll zoom back. I think I'm happy with the foreground over that side. And then if I just move the camera slowly across. I think I want to do something in here to give more structure. The structure is definitely working the other side of the painting. Just not quite, it's not quite describing things this side. So I'm going to do that. Why am I doing it? Well, I don't know. Some of it's instinctive, or most of it is. There's a funny sort of edge here, that sort of step thing. Do I like it? Well, I don't dislike it. But I think I'll just sort of mush it a little bit, just to you know what it. And in fact, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to add a path. Now, somebody said, I think they were joking, I'm not sure, but, oh, don't forget your paths have to get wider as they get closer to you. Well, yes, they do. But there are so many factors. Now, you can have a path that goes from here to there. And if I want to give you the feeling that you're standing on that path, I would make it as wide as almost the entire bottom of the painting. Now, I don't want it to do that. I want this to be almost like a single line track that goes off across the landscape and is not necessarily being looked at from head on. I hope that makes sense. And the way that I would do this is this. I want the path to be going over there and disappearing behind this tree and then coming across the painting this way. So the way I would go about that is I would do like a little Z shape using a piece of paper. I would do a little Z shape just there. And then just a line like so. Now the line, this, you see, wouldn't necessarily be getting awfully fat as it gets closer to us because we're sort of low down. We're looking at the path. Instead of looking at it and seeing that much of the path, we're seeing that much. And I don't really mind, frankly, whether you see the whole line. So I'm going to start to delete some of it and you'll see what effect that has. So here though, I'll just sort of have a hint that something might be going on. If I decide not to have this, I'll just delete it in a minute. So there's the path, not too close to us, going off down there. Another piece of paper, so well, same piece of paper, just another corner. And I just want to sort of do that there. It's literally just hints. So as it goes uphill, right, so the angle will change. As it goes up this slope, it'll get slightly fatter and then it could get thin again. Hope that explains it. Because now instead of it being this way, it's starting to go up. So we are now looking down on this bit that's rising up. So it's going to go from that to that. In a nutshell, that's the idea. And the other thing I'm going to do is, because I don't want you to see the whole path, is just put something over bits of it Careful how you do this though. Don't make them ridiculously noticeable. I want it to sort of show up almost as an afterthought. And down here, not totally sold on the idea, but maybe I'll just sort of break it down so that it really is just, as I said, an afterthought. It was a path less trodden. Right, seen something I don't like, and this is a compositional thing. So, okay, so you've got to watch out for things like this. Is the composition comfortable? Yes and no. I like this end of the tree. I think that's actually quite good. I may go up a little bit higher there. I've got a dip. I've got a dip there. Do I want that dip? I don't think I want quite so much of a dip. So what I'm going to do is just sort of sneak that up a bit, because I think compositionally that's going to look slightly better. Good. Right, so let's move to the tree end. The end of the tree. Right, this is, you've heard of the end of the world. This is not that. This is the end of the tree. And all I'm going to do is sap green red ochre, more sludge, and just push a little bit of paint up there and into the sky. As you can see, suddenly it looks like a okay, you may not see it, I can see it, but it looks like a punk hedgehog. There's the nose, there's the punk haircut. Okay, just going to make that hang over that way a little bit, and as I blend it with the sky, it gives it form and light hitting the tree. A little bit more at the top. And then a rigger, a little bit of riggering. So I'm really trying to look after my riggers because they're the most expensive brushes that I get. One of these tiny little brushes costs just over €6, I think. And whereas the chip brushes are expendable, these aren't so expendable. And I've got about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got seven left, and it's the longest I've managed to keep them going actually. So right, so this, I do need a bit of oil, and I need sap green, and all it is literally, when you do this, hold the brush like that, okay, so that you're holding it really lightly. You don't need to rest your hand on anything and carefully do a shape. All you're after is the essence of the tree trunk. It is an unbelievably light touch, just enough to put the paint down. Now you don't need to see the tree trunk up here, so let's just push that around a bit. Over that sort of distance you wouldn't necessarily see it. So a little bit more paint. Is one enough? I could actually title this painting "The Tree," and people will know exactly the one I'm talking about because it's the only one with a tree trunk. Not that I'm necessarily going to call it that, but you know what I mean. Okay, so now over on the edge here, Can you see it? Yes, you can. Right, so there are some marks in the blue paint that look like it goes over a hill and then up to a blue hill in the distance. I actually quite like that. So I might do something with it. Let's see how far we get before I change my mind. I think I'll leave it like that. That's actually quite nice. It's like, you know, a suggestion. In fact, I'll tell you what I could do. I've got that other tree the other side. I could do this here and call it 2 trees. And again, I think people might know. I wonder. Who knows? Of course, you don't have to give a painting a title. You can actually call it untitled. A lot of my paintings have got that title. Just going to take that over there a little bit more. Okay, 2 trees. Why not? By all means, tickle your paintings, but don't over-tickle them. The odd bit of titillation is okay, just don't overdo it. And I'm just sort of going from camera to painting to see what jumps out and grabs me by the gizzard. Right, we're almost done. For this stage, anyway, there will be more work on the sky, and I'll make a video of that, so there will be a part 2. And that's how to paint a very quick picture to give away. Funny enough, I often wonder when I do this, where they will end up. A lot of them go to America because that's where most of my patrons are. I've got a few in the UK. I think maybe, yeah, and I've got one in France, 1 or 2 in France. But yeah, most of them seem to go to America. Okay, this is actually quite a nice little composition. By the way, it's okay to compliment yourself. It's actually good for you. If you try and paint something and it doesn't quite look right and you tell yourself it's absolute rubbish, then guess what will happen? You will only produce what you perceive to be rubbish. Or you think it is, you know. Doesn't necessarily mean it is. But talk yourself up occasionally. Right, I think that's it. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this one. I have, actually, I must say. Don't I sound surprised? No, I actually have quite enjoyed this, and I think it's come out nicely. So yeah, I've got to do this. If you want this on your wall, become a patron. I know every time someone becomes a patron, I get a little message popping up. Trumpets, you know, you got a patron, way. And you don't have to be a big patron. I mean, you know, just an odd dollar or euro or sack of dollars or euros. Joking apart, you know, the amount is not the point. It's the fact that you're a patron. And you never know. Right, there we go. So yeah, hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've learnt something. and take care, and bye for now.